Welcome back to Third Coast Podcast. I'm Joe. What it do, Gators? And you're listening to episode 276. And on this week's episode, I was joined with Hick, Cheramie from Lafourche Parish. And we learned all about his acting journey that he started at 40 years old and how it's led to him being in movies and in TV series. And it's a wonderful, one of the longest episodes that we've recorded this year at an hour and 32 minutes long. So it's a wonderful episode for y'all to sit back and enjoy, and make sure to check out Third Coast Podcast at 5000ws.thirdcoastpodcast.com on all major streaming platforms, on all social media platforms, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thank y'all so much. We love y'all. Let's get into the show. Welcome back to Third Coast Podcast, and I'm Joe, What It Do, Gators, and I'm joined today with Mr. Hick Cheramie. Did I say it? Was that right?
You nailed it.
Nice.
You nailed it.
I want to get, so your last name, that is Creole French?
It's French.
It's French?
Yeah.
Nice.
Cher means dear, and ami means friend.
Nice. So how was your drive up to big old Oakdale today?
I've never been here, and it was actually pretty beautiful and serene. I think that you'll have some beautiful land out here. This place is actually really amazing. I didn't know this existed. Great film location place, I believe. But yeah, it was a nice, quiet drive. I liked that there wasn't a lot of traffic and a lot of pretty scenery.
Yeah, you were telling me earlier, this is like your first time being in this general area, like in the Mamou, Oakdale, Allen. Well, this is Allen Parish, and then Evangeline Parish is Mamou, Eunice, all that nice stuff. And you said that we got some pretty good food up here too, and that's pretty impressive coming from someone down south. I ain't a good, smoked meat guy, but I know some good places to get smoked meat, and one of my favorite places is Teats down in Ville Platte. If you get a chance, it's a great spot. They got like alligator, turtle, all types of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But if you like hot links,
oh yeah,
they got the best hot links in the state of Louisiana.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try it out.
You hear that, Teats? I want a sponsorship.
Teats, I'll be coming to see you.
So you started the film industry at 40 years old. What drove you to that? Did you just wake up one day and say, I want to be an actor, or was there like a defining moments like I want to be on the big screen?
So as a kid growing up, coming from kind of a rough upbringing, television was an escape and storytelling was an escape for me. And, when I was a young adult, I became addicted to alcohol and narcotics. And I was a heavy user for about 24 years. And at the age of 36, I got sober. So when you tend to go down that road, you kind of forget like what your hopes and dreams are. And when I did get sober at 36, it wasn't even a thought. And about 4 years into my journey of recovery, I was doing a podcast about my sobriety. And we got into the discussion of, did drugs and alcohol stop you from achieving any goals or dreams you may have as a child? And for a moment, in that moment, I said I always wanted to be an actor. And it just kind of like came out. It wasn't like premeditated. It wasn't that something that I've been like harping on or thinking about. And, God has a great sense of humor, because the guy's reply to that was, well, you know, you're beating addiction. Like, why can't you? And that's when everything kind of ignited. After the podcast was done, I might have thought about it a couple times. And then about 2 weeks later, this girl who was cutting my hair, Shani St. Pierre, and she's a talented special effects makeup artist, and she was working on like a B independent horror film, and they needed an extra. I knew nothing about acting. I knew nothing about the film industry. And I show up on this set. I said, yes, I show up on this set. And the director was very happy with my direction and what was going on in the scene. He said I took direction well. The guy shooting it said I looked good on camera, which was a little weird to me at the time, you know, because it's just all, was all strange and new to me. And from there, I was, someone suggested that I get with a casting agency to just do background and extra work. So I did, and I used those opportunities to learn about film, because I never went to school for film. I didn't know any of the technical aspects of film or filming. Definitely didn't know anything about acting. So I did that for a little while, and then I moved up from like extra to like featured background, and then like a recurring background role where I was, you know, I stood out more, and I was there in more than one scene, and I was there in more than one day of filming. And then once I understood the technicality of filming, you know, blocking and lighting and marks and everything, every kind of terminology you can think of, which I used that time to learn about and asked a lot of questions. And, you know, I made sure in the beginning to be very professional, even though I was an extra and background actor. Punctuality, you know, showing up, suiting up and taking direction well. I moved up to standing in for big actors. You know, so I did some stand-up work on a lot of major television series. And in 2019, I got asked to be a featured recurring background actor on a film called Antebellum, who was starring Eric Lange and Janelle Monáe and Jack Houston and Jenna Malone. And I worked on that film for about 17 or 18 days. And when I was on that film, there was another actor who was working with me who had been studying acting and kind of, his name's Caleb Nake. He's a great actor. He was just in Ari Aster's Eddington. He had a role in there. And he's like, man, he's like, you should really study acting. And I started studying acting. You know, I discussed it with my family and my children, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. And at the time I was 40 years old. And of course people were like, dude, like you drinking again? Like you crazy. And I did. And I jumped on and, you know, I was told you have something and you can do something with it. And I continue to study to this day. I'm always learning new techniques, or I'm learning things about myself as an actor. And from there, man, it just took off, you know. And I think 2 months into training, I booked a major supporting role in a film called Obsidian. It was my first major supporting role. I got to work with some amazing people, you know. So I learned a lot on that film, and from there it just kept going bigger. And I found myself from doing independent work to being on major television series as co-stars and guest stars. And but it wasn't about until 2022. I learned a lot on that Obsidian film from Tom Proctor. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy and Westworld and stuff, and he was in that film. And he gave me a lot of confidence, and I'll never forget Tom Proctor for that. He was a great mentor on that film to me. and also Henry Frost, who is now Matthew McConaughey's stand-in. He works strictly for Matthew McConaughey. Those two guys, and I met a lot of other great people. Olivia Peck, who is such a talented actress, and I found a group and started networking and building a tight group. And I did independent work for I guess up to about 2022, and I still do independent work, even though I'm SAG eligible. I'm not union, so I could still do independent work. But what happened is I was doing a lot of independent film and acting, supporting roles, major supporting roles. And then in 2019, I wasn't really doing background and extra work at that point anymore. I kind of, from 2018 to 2019, like, I guess my skills had elevated to where I was just doing speaking roles, and it was mostly independent work. And I had a free day, and they wanted to use me for a bar patron, and it was background work in Showtime's Your Honor with Bryan Cranston. And I show up because I'm like, it'd be good to be back on a big production, and it'd be good to just network. And it's an easy day. I have no lines. I'm probably sitting there drinking a fake beer or whatever. And while I was there, I had a production person come to me, and they were like, you can act. And I was like, yeah, I can act. Because once you get into the industry, people talk a lot. And thank God they do, because that day I was pulled from background, and we were shooting in a bar, and they had made a deal with the locations, people that the bar owner can be in the scene and their bartender. And the bartender wasn't working out. So they brought me in, and I remember standing behind the bar. Nobody's telling me anything. And come to find out, it's a scene with Cranston, and it's a line with Cranston. So that was my first major television co-star role. And then after that, in 2022, I continued to work. I had to find an agent, right? I mean, you're not going to make it in this industry without a reputable agent. And we have some really talented agents in this region. And the agent I have now, who I didn't think I was good enough to sign with, by the time I had compiled all this demo footage through the years, and by the time I had got all this studying under my belt and whatever credits I could get, I was able to build a package to try to sell myself to an agent. So I remember getting everything together. I traveled to Nashville, Tennessee to be photographed for my headshots from Barb Jones, who is an absolutely talented woman. She makes people look really good. And she's a dear friend today, and I'll be heading back to Nashville it's time for some new ones in April to go and get those done. But I got all this stuff put together, headshots, resume, demo reel, you name it, and put it in this cute little package with a bow on it. And I started sending it out to agencies, except Action Talent Agency, Angie Moncrief, who's my agent now. So after about 2 or 3 weeks, I hear like nothing. It's like crickets. And I can remember the day I sent those submissions, sitting down. I was sitting down in Lizzo's at the track in New Orleans, my girlfriend and I eating a po' boy. And I remember hitting send on the first one and like tearing up, because I knew how long it took and how much work I had to put in to have that package to go for an agency. So like, it was almost like I was betting at a table at that point, like, is anyone going to bite? Will I get something out of this? And it was a very emotional moment for me, and it still is, because I'll never forget that day, knowing that I came from being an alcoholic and a junkie, to being able to have this opportunity to go out there and live my dream. And I didn't hear nothing for a couple of weeks, crickets. So I started to really like question myself as an actor, and it kind of messes with you psychologically. And, you know, a lot of people think I just act, but I'm an oil field worker. I'm lucky enough to work on land, and I'm lucky enough to work Monday through Friday. And it took me a long time to get to that point. And I was at work one day and we're really busy. And this had been on my mind for a couple weeks about not getting a bite from an agent. And, I said, you know what? Screw it. And she doesn't take submissions. Like, it's not like I could have just sent my stuff to her. Like, you know, she was known for not taking submissions. She wasn't taking on anybody new. And I sent it to her. And the next day, I got an email from her to see if I was available for a phone call. So that was huge to me. And, we got on the phone in the middle of my workday, and we talked for about 45 minutes to an hour. And, thank God that I always carried myself in a professional way, because she went to other actors. Who is this guy? Do you know this guy? And I was lucky enough to work with Britton Webb, who's another brilliant actor, on Emancipation with Will Smith, and a couple other actors, Eric Hansen, who I worked with, and David Duchovny, and on Adam the First, this movie I did for this casting director, Matthew Morgan, who's in Canada and here in Mississippi. And those two guys went to bat for me. And there was also, I want to say, like 2 other actresses who went to bat for me. And, you know, she told me, she says, I'm going to take this chance on you. And I'm going to put you under 3 months probation. And then we'll see if I'll sign you. So, yeah, that was it. And after that, I was lucky enough within 2 weeks to book, of all things, and it was probably the easiest work I ever did. It took me like 17 minutes to film this, was a Morris Bart commercial.
What?
A Morris Bart, the lawyer.
Yeah, yeah.
The lawyer. And, you know, because when you're starting out, man, you take whatever you can get. And I'm grateful I did take it. And I'm grateful I did it. It ran for so long during like Saints games and you know, big events. American Idol was on TV in between our commercials for local commercials. And, it ran for so long, they kept having to renew it, my contract. And finally they were just like, look, we're just going to buy him out. It was contract, you know? So they bought me out my contract, which they paid me really well. And, I think a month later I booked a co-star role in Mayfair Witches. And I kept booking and I stayed busy. So like August, I sent her an email and I'm like, hey, I was like, it's like, am I exclusive with this agency now? And she's like, oh my God, we need to sign the contract. And I've been with her since 2022. And with her, I've gotten some amazing things, and she's amazing and I love her. And she, you know, guest star role in Family Business New Orleans and all kinds of other stuff, and Super Bowl commercial and you name it. And I've been staying busy with her. And I've been really blessed to have her and grateful that she did take that chance on me, you know? So, I mean, that's kind of how I got into acting. It was a quick go ahead. How I got into acting and how it all happened for me. You know, I've just been blessed with a lot of opportunities.
When you were doing, was it in the movie with Will Smith,
Emancipation.
I can't speak today. Did you actually get to meet Will Smith?
I worked closely with Will Smith every day, because in the movie I played a Civil War soldier who worked for the state. And I was a tax collector, and the movie is a true story, actually. And it's a really interesting true story of perseverance. But, you know, he was playing the role of Whipped Peter, who was, a real person. And Whipped Peter was living with his family on a plantation here in Louisiana. And, just to show you where I played a role in it. And he was pulled from the plantation, collected as a tax. and brought to a work camp. And he escaped from that work camp, and he traveled for 40-something days through the treacherous swamps of Louisiana to get to the Union Army, because they were coming down and emancipation had happened. But here in the South, we were still on our own terms, right? And he survived, and he got to the Union, and then he fought with the Union to come back to get his family. And it's a great story of perseverance. So I was the tax collector who pulls up on the cart and takes Will Smith and brings him across the state of Louisiana to the work camp. So I spent a lot of time with Will, and he was a really great guy to work with. He's probably one of the nicest A-list celebrities that I've had the pleasure of working with.
Was that like a surreal moment for you when you were when you were, in the motion of the filming and, doing your job for the movie? But was there a point in time during that movie that it just clicked? It's like you were in third person looking out like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now.
Yeah, I still have those moments. And, cause I'm just not supposed to be here, I probably shouldn't be alive, but, yeah, definitely, he's a bigger than life person, but he's a very humble and kind person. And and then being directed by Antoine Fuqua, this is a guy who's like best friends with Denzel Washington. This guy did Training Day and did Equalizer, all these amazing movies, so that being directed by him and then working with Will Smith, and then, and there was a lot of other, talented actors on that film. Charmaine Bangua, who played Will Smith's wife, who her and I have stayed close to this day. She just had a birthday that passed, actually. But we still chat and keep in touch to this day. And she's an amazing actress from Australia. She actually won the Heath Ledger Scholarship in Australia, and she's here in the States now, and she's has a phenomenal career. But I've met so many great people in that film. But yeah, I show up and I do my job, and then at the end of the day, they picking me up to take me back to base camp, wherever I got to go. And that drive is always surreal, because it's like, wow, like that just happened. And never in a million years did I ever think that me, some dude in recovery, some dude from Bayou Lafourche who like had, I've never really excelled at anything, school, whatever it may have been. I never really finished anything. I never really, and I think that had a lot to do with my chemical dependencies. But yeah, writing back, you kind of step back into that third person and you look around and you're like, this is really happening. A couple years ago, I had my first guest star role on a major television series. And that was a pretty, they're all surreal for me, but, Brandon T. Jackson, who I love, he was in like Tropic Thunder and stuff, he was the rapper, with the booty juice and the.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's a comedic actor. And, in fact, he's about to do his first stand-up special. I think coming up in a couple of days, it's going to be airing, but, they're all just people doing a job. And I remember getting there, and huge fan of his, and of course I was a fan of like Cranston. Working with Bryan Cranston was just absolutely, the guy is just brilliant. He's real down to earth, and he's more like Malcolm in the Middle dad when the camera's not rolling. And this was a very serious role. But going back to Brandon, I show up on set, my first big guest star role. I got like 5 pages of dialogue with the lead actor of this series. And, I remember sitting there waiting in, wardrobe, and he walks in, he's like, man, Brandon, nice to meet you. He's like, you want to run some lines? And like real cool, and I film it. And of course that van ride back to my vehicle, I'm just like, wow, like that just happened, and I had some really cool conversations with him on set, because he was playing such a dramatic role, and he's a comedic actor. But he was just so great to work with. And that was another experience where I kind of just had to sit back on that drive and be like, wow, like, even though I worked with Cranston and I worked with Smith, and I worked with this guy, Brandon T. Jackson, and I'm like, I'm still wowed by it all. And I hope I never lose that. You know, like I feel like if I ever lose that, then I'm going to lose the importance of the opportunity, you know, because all those opportunities are really important to me. But yeah, definitely, you know, it's a step back and like, oh my God, this just happened to me. Like I just experienced this and like my name's in the credits with him. And like, I just had a big scene with him and, you know, and it's kind of funny because like, you know, I finished filming at like 3 a.m. and I went home and I got like 4 hours of sleep. And the next day I was in the oil field, you know, where I'm just another blue collar worker, you know? So it's like, it's a bit surreal, you know, because I do go back to my everyday normal life. And I'm glad I have that because it keeps me really grounded, you know, and keeps me really true. And I love my job. So yeah, it's wild. It's a trip.
So when you're filming TV shows versus movies, which one can be more difficult?
TV shows are very difficult because TV shows, there are a lot of changes and there's a quicker pace to it because now you have a half an hour to tell a story as to where you might have 3 hours or 2.5 hours to tell a story. Do I have a preference? Probably. I like movies. I like doing movies. Like I just got off of a 2-week shoot of a movie and, you know, it's, you have a little more time, but like, for instance, Mayfair Witches, when I did Mayfair Witches, I literally pulled in the parking spot and a production assistant came up to my window. Are you ready, Mr. Cheramie? Boom, hair, makeup, boom, 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 boom. And there wasn't no like sitting around and waiting for my scene. I sat in my trailer for about 5-10 minutes, maybe. And then I was brought onto a sound stage and the scene we knocked it out and it was done. Same with my guest star role on Family Business New Orleans. It was pulled up, hair, makeup, went over some lines, drove to set, boom, 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 done. And then you're off on your way. You know, so it's a lot quicker pace.
So with the hair and makeup side, I can see that you have a big luscious beard like I do. Is that part of like your like identity in your package? Like you have to have, like you get a lot of roles from your beard and your aesthetic look?
I do. You know, looks and talent have a lot to do with that. But yes, I do. And, you know, my agent has a certain roster and I'm the guy with the beard, you know, I'm the guy with the beard on her roster. And
is it labeled that?
No, it should be. But, yesterday we kind of went back and forth in emails, cause I'm going to get new headshots and my headshots currently, my beard's like really long and I'm like, you know, should I cut it down real short and leave the thick mustache like Sam Elliott? And she's like, let's go a little shorter, get it, you know, trimmed up a little shorter more. And, you know, the mustache, you know, so like looks has a lot to do with it all. But funny story about that is, when I got sober, you know, they suggested I get a pet or like a plant. And, I was afraid that if I got into like plants again, that I'd start growing something that I'm not supposed to be growing. And then I had a pet already, and I was like, I remember being in rehab, and I just started growing my beard, and that was in 2014, and I have not had a razor to my face since, except, you know, here, of course. And it's been long, and it's been short, and it's been whatever. But when I started studying acting, I was going to this acting coach, and he's amazing, and he told me, he said, you're probably gonna have some trouble booking with a beard. He's like, because your emotions, you can't really, you know, it kind of puts me in a class, right? It kind of puts me in a certain profile of,
never thought about
of having the beard. And he's like, you know, people are concentrating on all of this and they're not seeing this. So from there on, I knew I had to act with my eyes. Like and which any actor should, but I knew I really did because like, this can be a huge distraction, you know, theater, you on a stage and your audience is all of this. But on film, your audience is like this, you know, like it's really close in your face. So, I started studying a lot of different techniques and learned how to act a lot with my eyes and with my brow and my facial expressions. And, and it's kind of funny because when I got onto Mayfair, actually him and I have done 2 films already together, This Soldier's Heart and Mayfair Witches. And he was on set the day I was on Mayfair Witches, and it was kind of one of those moments where I was like, man, I'm like on a set with the guy who I first started studying acting with, and this guy spent years and years in LA and has been on a lot of big hit shows and movies. But yeah, so like I'm the beard guy, I may always be the beard guy. I don't know. But yeah, it has a lot to do with it. I mean, I booked a huge insurance commercial for Alpha Insurance, and it was because I have this beard. It's like this guy, and it's like they're like, I wonder what so and so is doing, and it goes to me, and I'm like trimming these hedges, and I trim it into this big Jeep or whatever, but it was because of the beard, because I was a guy who like took care of stuff and shaped stuff and trimmed stuff, and then he gets a Super Bowl commercial, that I think that had a lot to do with it. Well, I like to say my talent did also because that was a rigorous audition and I pushed through it. But yeah, it's who I am, the guy. I remember they did an article on me for some magazine, and it was like Hick, Cheramie, the guy with the beard.
And I know there's a lot of care in it, and I see yours is nice and straight, where mine is curly on the ends and stuff like that. Do you take a lot of time, like on a daily routine? Do you have like a daily beard routine that you keep up with, or you just let it grow?
I let it grow, man. Like it was rough the first couple of years. I had a lot of crazy, man. When I first started growing, it looked like I had the mange. But I stayed patient because a lot of people do give up. A lot of people give up on the beard because you have this like really weird season of your beard growing out. You have to go through the itching phase, and then you go through like, it's patchy, and then you go through the curling phase. And what I learned was like to let it grow, trim it, let it grow, trim it, let it grow, trim it. It's almost like a bonsai tree. And honestly, I don't cut my mustache ever. Like I don't ever trim it. It just does its own thing. I guess it loses the hair it needs to. And
well, you better than me. I trim mine every now and then. It gets too heavy.
Yeah, I do not. And that's another one of those uncomfortable things, is that when your mustache first starts to grow, it wants to grow down in front of your mouth.
Yeah.
And it's about just that I did in the beginning was every morning I would comb it out. I remember carrying a little comb with me because my dad, he had this amazing mustache, dude. It was like just this thick Sam Elliott looking like mustache. And I noticed he would do it. He'd always do the little comb. So I did it. And it kind of just grows out like this. It does its own thing. So anytime I do get anything trimmed, if there's like a wild crazy hair like sticking up, and I was like, go ahead, and it's curling up. I was like, just snip that. But other than that, I won't really mess with the mustache at all. And the beard, I'll probably be going to get it shorter in the next. In 2 weekends from now, I play Santa, right? I love dressing up as Santa Claus. And I got two cool Santa outfits. I have like a kind of a Cajun one, which is like the Christmas Chronicles kind of one. And then I have like your department store, but like a nice department store one. And in 2 weekends from now, I get to go and play Santa for a group of special needs children and adults. So, that those are the rewards, like this interview, those are the rewards I have that come out of acting, I feel, because I get to come on things like this, tell my story, and then I get to go do like really cool charity events, and just to give back these blessings that I've had, these blessings that I continue to get, or these opportunities that I continue to, I use the word blessings, but if you start throwing around the word blessing too much, then people start wondering, why am I not blessed? So, with those blessings comes a lot of hard work. You ever heard somebody say like, I get on my knees and pray, and then I get up and I start putting in the work for it, type thing. So I've taken advantage of a lot of opportunities just through my work ethic, but I do see them as blessings, but I want people to understand that everyone is blessed, right? Everyone gets opportunities, no matter if they small or big. Like, my biggest blessing is waking up every day. It's not like being on a film set, right? So like every day I get to wake up and I have this like choice of free will, and everybody's always asking me, because I am a pretty spiritual person, but they always asking me like, what's your religion? What church you go to? What? And I'm like, oh, I'm spiritual. Right? My religion is that if I do good, I feel good. And if I do bad, I feel bad, because I get freedom of choice like every day, and I get to decide what I'm going to do with that choice, So yeah, going back to I use the word blessing a lot, but I just kind of wanted to break that down,
So how was doing your first lead role? Like, you were a vampire hunter, I saw?
Yeah, actually, that wasn't my first. I've had, a good bit of other lead roles in some independent films that I've done, but, this past film, this is the second film I did with this production company. I shot a Western here in Louisiana in Basile, called Feral Hymn. In April of this past year. And then I was lucky enough to where they liked what I did with this character, Ironclad Jones, which I got really big for. I put on a lot of weight for, and so that was another challenge. It was the first time that I had to physically change for a role. And I did really well with that role for what I was told. And I truly believe I did. And I was brought back for their new film, South of Night, where I play a vampire hunter. It's a lot to carry, you're working a lot more, and then you got to think about everyone counting on you. If they put you in this position, they asked you, the writer, he reached out to me, and he was like, actually the producer reached out to me and was like, they wrote a part for you in this movie, and it's a solid part, and it's a main character in the movie. And, so to get called back again, to another production, there was some pressure, and they all pressure, like all of them are pressure, but, I felt honored, I felt honored to be a main role in this film and carry a character, which the character was, he was a Cajun, so I didn't have to like tweak out my accent or nothing too much, at all. They wrote the character as me. They were like, we want you to be yourself, like just be you, and I'm like, cool. Like, it's a lot easier when you can just be you, and your mannerisms and your dialect and I did a film, where I was a lead. And the film's called Evangeline, and it's all in French, and I don't speak French. And I had to learn how to speak. I understood when I was a young boy, I spoke French, and I still understand Cajun French, but I was like the last generation that we lost that. My father and my grandmother spoke it, and I just did an interview about 3 nights ago on this film. And it was challenging, like to have this lead role and have to speak another language. And I guess one of the biggest challenges in that was, our natural language is English. And as an actor, we have to like project emotion and show emotion, and showing emotion and something completely different come out of your mouth that you normally are just used to saying, like breathing, was a challenging. So that actually was probably one of my hardest, lead roles, and it came out amazing. I was lucky enough, The director, he went to Columbia Film School in New York, and the film did really well. It was accepted into 2 Oscar qualifying festivals, and it's continuing to. The public can't see it yet, but it's continuing to run through a lot of big festivals and international festivals. And I'm grateful that he took that chance on me, and we shot it in Brobridge, Louisiana. And so that was probably one of the most challenging lead roles.
So you said that I couldn't watch it because it's in the film festival. How's that go? Like you do a movie and you send it to a film festival first before general.
Yeah. So if you see a lot of movies like that, I'm trying to think of some, and there's the bigger movies with bigger actors, like, they'll go to like Cannes Film Festival in France before they ever picked up by like a major studio, so that does happen where it's an independent type film, or and it'll go out there. There was one like with was Kieran Culkin from Succession, that went to a film festival, and then it won an Oscar. He won an Oscar for it, So what it is that, like, when you're looking at these types of films like Evangeline, once it enters the festival circuit, the public can't really watch it because the festivals have a lot of rules about that. And that's something that the producers and the directors follow, is that they want to make that festival run first before it hits any kind of streaming, before it hits any kind of, before it hits television or anything like that. So a lot of festivals have those rules also.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I don't know if y'all knew that, listeners.
Yeah.
Well,
now if it's smaller festivals, it's different. But like this film was going to like Oscar qualifying festivals, so like smaller festivals, you could throw it up on YouTube. But a lot of directors like to just honor that and let it make its festival run, and then when it finishes its festival run, go ahead and put it out there for everyone to see. That usually the only thing that will kind of show, like in this instance, what Evangeline was, the trailer, which was done for the film festival, you were able to see, but they want people to go to festivals. They want people to watch it at festivals. And then when it screens, and then once that festival runs over, they usually go ahead and distribute it.
All right. So you work not, full-time job, 40, I'm assuming 40 plus hours a
50.
week. 50?
50,
Nice.
50 or 50 plus.
I feel that. So all your free time is dedicated, well, not all of it, but a lot of it's to acting. And I've seen that you do Comic-Cons and travel around and set up and stuff. You must have a very supportive, like, home. You work and then you're pursuing your passion. So I just wondering, is there like a backbone to your success?
Yeah, man, my kids are very supportive, but they're young adults now, and my daughter is off at school. She's actually a world champion powerlifter, and she lives in Kansas, and she goes to school in Kansas. She's a little thing. She's like 4'11", weighs like 4'10", weighs like 113 pounds, and she deadlifts almost 400 pounds. And she's been doing that for years. She's been all over the world. That she, from day one, has always been supportive of my acting. My son, who is a brilliant musician, and he's been supportive of my acting. And my dad, when he was alive, my dad was a world champion decoy carver. So like everybody had their thing. Everybody has their thing. And he was very supportive of. Which was a beautiful thing, because once my name started kind of getting out there, like we'd be shopping, and he was older at that time and somewhat not in good health, but to people would stop, like, want to take a picture, like in my hometown. And I'd always like, come on, Dad, like my dad's coming in the picture, and I get kind of emotional, but to see him proud of me. Because for so many years I'd caused chaos, so I had a great support system. My mom's sister and my brother, because those are the only family I have left. My parents are gone, my grandparents are gone, were always supportive. But my partner, Cameron, she she's the one who lives with me. She's the one who sees it all. She's the one who gets drug around to events and whatnot. She's my reader in auditions. And she's working on her master's right now, and she has a full-time job with a university. So sometimes we're auditioning until 8, 9 o'clock at night, 10, 11 o'clock at night, trying to squeeze stuff in on the weekends. And because outside of acting, I still have a busy schedule outside the oil field, outside of acting, because there's a lot of things that go along with acting, like this interview, red carpets, screenings, acting classes, whatever it may be, filming, so you have to have that person in your life that can handle what comes with that. You have to have, like, say, a partner, someone who's very secure with herself, because we can be anywhere and people want that time with you, and she's real good about that. She's there at the Comic-Cons, with me. She's there, and I love having her. The only reason she's not here today is because we have her family's Thanksgiving, and that's why we up here. And she's cooking and spending time with her mom, who she doesn't get to see too often, but she is everything. I would not be where I am without her. So, like, she was there with me when I sent those submissions. She's there with me when there's the ups and when there's the downs of this career. She's taught me a lot of patience. And she's also a brilliant artist. I mean, she can paint and draw, and she does amazing work. So she understands what this is to me, because she herself is an artist and I'm an artist. So she sacrifices she's a very selfless person. She sacrifices a lot of her time to make sure that I have the support that I need. And of course, that's reciprocated in all her endeavors. And we make it work. We have a very happy home, a very busy home, a very busy schedule. But she acts as so many roles in this. She's not only my reader for auditions, but she's my planner. She does PR work for me sometimes. She does whatever needs to be done that she knows I cannot get to, right? So you have to have that person. There's no way, like, without a doubt in my mind, that I'd be interesting enough to be sitting here that you want to talk to me without her. Like, no way.
That's what's up. Yeah, last night I sprung it on my fiance, China. I was like, hey, I need 2 vinyls weeded out. She's like, why didn't you tell me earlier? Da 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 da. But by about 8 o'clock, 7:30, she already had 2 weeded out, and I was already pressing them on the shirts, and I had them done by 9 o'clock. But it's just like that little bit, like, man, you waited too late, but you know what? I'm gonna get it done for you. I'm gonna help you, and that's cool that you have that background. Like,
yeah, man, because
it's a lot. It means a lot too to have that.
Yeah, because, like, I'll be out the house at like 4:35 in the morning. She's up at like 10 after 5, and then she's an academic advisor for like a big university, and she works from home, but she's like working all day, and she's getting her master's right now, so she's writing papers like crazy. And like the other night I had this big national commercial audition. I'm like, we've got to do this before we leave town. No problem. She's like, I'll cook supper, you set up. Like, it's when you find love, there's so many things that come with that. You can find love, but when you find unconditional love, number 1, and a teammate, number 2, because, like, she's my teammate. Like, my W's are her W's. My L's are her L's. We lose together and we win together, and we keep that attitude, because, that's what a true union is, right? When one hurts, you hurt. When one's on top, she's on top with me. When she's on top, I'm on top, on top of that podium with her, so, and you have to have that in your life to be successful. I truly believe you do, because like, not only am I successful in this industry or at my job, but like at life in general, my relationship is successful. My days at home are successful. So, a lot of people, man, congratulations on your successes. And I know what they're talking about, because they want to talk about the acting, which is a huge part of my life. But like, the real success is this. I get to wake up every day sober. I stay sober. I give back, and I'm supportive. So like, what better gift can I give the world, her, my children, my family, and most importantly, myself, than that. And then to have that support, because she's also sober, so we have that bond, right? We have that bond. We saw what chemical dependency can do to the human spirit and relationships and self and whatnot. So we share that bond also. So we both very goal orientated, right? Not only in our careers, but like life in general, life in general. And we pretty simple people. Like, we're minimalist. She sees all of me, where people have an idea who I am, but she sees all of me. And to have someone that can see all of you, your faults or your great characteristics, your character, defects, any flaws you may have, and like continue to love you and continue to support you and grow from those things with you. Like, man, I won like at life. I feel if I keep staying spiritually fit, waking up every day and making good choices and have these people in my life, then I'm okay.
Yeah, I got to try to be more positive. I'm a grumpy person in the morning, but I do a little bit of what you do. I'm real like, especially getting older, and just my kids getting older too. I got a 16-year-old about to be 17 next year. It's just getting to do life every day. Like what Chuck told me on the way to Chuck Fest in Lake Charles. He said that he's a morning person because he gets to wake up for another day. He gets another day to try to be better, another day to drink coffee in the morning, and just another day to be alive. So, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, that's important, and one thing I learned in sobriety, and you hit the nail on the head, is trying to be better than I was yesterday. So every night when I lay in bed, before I pray, I go through like this moral inventory of my day. Maybe the way I spoke to someone, maybe how I didn't pay attention enough, right? And I try to fix those things the next day. We get that chance. Like, whatever you believe in, whether it be God, the universe, the all creator, whatever you call your higher power, if you even believe there's a higher power, like, we get that second chance. And it's tomorrow, right? Our second chance is always tomorrow. If we do what we're supposed to and make it to that next day, so, just to have that, I guess, opportunity to be able to do it again, like the next day, I think my moral inventory is so important to me because it helps me see any character defects I have. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be grumpy and ornery. I'm coming up on from 40, so I'm going to be 48 in May. And I'm starting to see a shift of, I'm starting to see a shift of, not that I'm not positive, but I'm a little bit more like, grumpier, but like not in a mean way. I think as we get older, nonsense is kind of harder to deal with. I think when we get to that age and we grow as men, because, like, the reality of it is, and I'll probably piss off a bunch of men by saying this, but like, women mature way faster than us. It's just DNA. It's how it is. And, like, I honestly don't believe I started maturing until I was like 36 years old and got sober, and I'm still maturing, and we're going to, if you live and right, change is inevitable and it's always going to happen. And we were talking about that before we filmed, about being in your comfort zone and staying out your comfort zone. But I think we constantly maturing. This is a part of life. We're constantly learning more about the world and ourselves and what we accept and how to set boundaries on what we accept and whatnot. But don't get me wrong. I could be, ornery and grumpy at times, which she ends up laughing a lot about. Because she just sees me like, because it's kind of funny, the stuff that I do gripe about, it's minute and kind of funny. So I have her laughing a lot about that kind of stuff. Funny story. So, and I'll make it quick. This morning, she makes breakfast, right? We got this cat with us at her mother-in-law's house. We decided to take it ride with us to get coffee. So I'm holding the cat and we walking out to the car, and we get in the car, and I put the cat down and I look down at the console, and I'm like, in this grumpy way, I'm like, oh, what is this? I'm like, oh, I was like, what is this? And, we drive into the coffee shop, and she just starts cracking up laughing. I was complaining. I saw some something on my console, and I kind of just wiped it off into the floor. And she's cracking up laughing, and she's like, it was you. She's like, you put that on the console. And what are you talking about? And I had a piece of egg stuck in my mustache. And she was dying laughing, and I was laughing, and we were cracking up laughing. But I became grumpy like in that moment. Like, I was like, what is this in the car? I was like, I can't keep this thing clean. It turned into like this whole thing. I'm like, I can't keep this thing clean. And she was just cracking up laughing because it was like, all am I doing? Which most of the time the things we do gripe about is our doing, like, because we've not accepted some, or we overlook some or whatever.
Yeah, the beard is a struggle when you eat. You'll be surprised on how much shit can get in this thing.
Yeah, you man, I found some stuff in my beard. But yeah, it can get messy. And I always, people must think I'm too fancy, because like anytime I order a burger or anything, I'm like, I'm gonna need you to cut that in half for me. They kind of look at me. I'm like, this is gonna be a mess, like all over the place. I was like, I don't want to burn up all your napkins, because like this is gonna be a mess. They're like, oh yeah, okay, you're not being bougie or whatever. Like, you just don't want to make a mess. I don't want to make a mess.
Yeah, I got, when I eat, so I have never broke the habit of eating really fast from the Army, even though I've been out the Army for years now, decade. Like, people get like a big hamburger or something, I'm eating it in less than a minute. I can't help myself.
Yeah.
Like going to a fancy restaurant, you go sit down at like Outback or something. Well, that ain't really fancy. Like, and you order the food comes to the table.
You own it.
I'm on it and done.
Well, because in mess hall, like, you have like a couple minutes to eat, and then you're getting rushed out, and then they're gonna PT the shit out of you. So you never really enjoy it to begin with.
No, definitely done. So you recently recorded with Mitch, Richard, and Zane, Aaron, Luke. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of people from Open Heart, but big shout out to Open Heart Productions. If y'all ain't checked them out, make sure to go check them out. Repping the Sea of Madness shirt right here. But how was that to film with Open Heart and to meet them guys up there, up north?
Man, these guys had it together. These guys film on multiple cameras. They're very efficient. A set has a lot to do with attitude. Attitude can shift a whole film within minutes. And, this production, Open Heart, it's funny, it's called Open Heart because that's how I felt with everyone there. I mean, you have some solid people who know what they're doing, who are on their job, and then have a good time doing it. But as far as like filming efficiency, they were so efficient when it came to filming, when it came down to locations. I mean, they'll probably say oh, he just didn't see all the problems we have. But like, I saw like no problems. Like when I was on set with these guys, like these guys have it down, and as they should. You know, they spitting out. They have a deal, and they have to spit out so many movies, and you know, you have to be, even with a big production, even with big union productions, even $100-something million films I worked on, you always worry of like how this is gonna go, right? I mean, this is your job, and you coming into something new, you know. So I always have that, like, well, I don't know what this is gonna be like, and this and that. And what I mean, when I pulled up at Drew's house, everybody's on the porch waiting for me. So I had this really warm welcome. They put me up. They took care of everything. They went through my agent. They, anything I needed or asked for, it was there, which I don't really ask for much. But you know, they were absolutely amazing. I remember my agent, she always asked me, she's like, so, you know, how was the production? How was it? And I just spoke so highly of them because I'd want to work with them again. Like, those are the kind of people you want to work with again. Those are the people that you excited to go back and shoot with. Like this movie I just finished up, you know, same thing with those people, you know. So when you find a very cohesive group like that who runs very efficiently and knows what they're doing, you know, and have a good attitude, why wouldn't you go work back with them? You know, I mean, they were amazing, you know, and I would go and work with him again in a second.
How did you meet Mitch and them? How did that like form to you going to film with them?
They reached out to me and was like, hey, you know, we have this role. His name's Uncle Amos. He's like the uncle of the lead, and you know, he runs this marina. I don't want to give away too much of their stuff, but, and my schedule was open, you know. I still wasn't sure because I never worked with any of those guys. And then I was at a Comic-Con, set up with my booth and stuff. And I ran into, is it John Stout? He's like a big guy in Comic-Con. He does like all the costumes and all the cosplay stuff. And he knows those guys from up there. And cause I think he is from up there. And, I started hearing a lot more about these guys, and I started kind of like, Mitch was sending me like movies and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, this is going to be like cult classic type of stuff. Like the way these guys are doing stuff, because their shooting style and their storytelling is it's out the box. You know, but it's like legit. Like there's substance to it. It's good writing. It's good writing. And I was looking at, you know, I look at everything. I look at the quality, and I look at, you know, all of it. And I did have a friend who was in Sea of Madness, is the one with the ship, right?
Yeah.
I had a friend, who was in there. She was in there. She was one of the main characters. And, I know her, and I know that she wouldn't just work with anyone. And, you know, so, you know, you always hesitant going work with any production company, because you try to do all the research you can, but until you're on set, you don't know how it is, because you can see their films and you can read all you want, but you don't know what the attitude is. You don't know what their shooting style is. You don't know. And, I was just super impressed with those guys, and, not going into it. And, when he reached out to me, I read the script. I love the script, and I love the character, Uncle Amos. And I was like, you know, this is a character that I want to play, because I try to stick to being blue collar. I try to stick to like blue collar, like everyday guy roles, you know, like nothing too wild, too crazy. And that's just to honor like the real people, you know. And, you know, that's not like I'm playing some like real mafia boss or some real, you know, crazy type of character. It's just you know, it's an everyday guy who has like, you know, something about him that makes him unique, and he's a working man, and so I try to stick to those roles. And when I read Uncle Amos's character, and I read the writing, and I read it, and I was like, I love this, and this is a character I want to play. And there were great on set as far as explaining to you and directing you and giving you notes on what they wanted, and I think they have something really special up there, and I hope they continue to thrive with it. And I can hope all I want, but I truly believe they will. But they were a great group of guys, and I definitely work with them again.
Yeah, when we were up there recording the rake investigation, me and Kobai, and we had one of the last scenes of the film, and we didn't have no words. Only thing we were supposed to do was go with Mayor Gafferty. I think that's right. And we pull up, go get the cryptid monster, back up everybody. So we're all suited up. They give us guns and stuff like that. And we didn't have no words, but we had to walk up with the mayor and stuff. And I don't know where it came from or improv. I just took the prop gun, back up like all the guys while we could get the monster. And Mitch left it in the movie, and he told me, hey, I liked what you done. That was great. He said, you didn't even have words, but you just, I don't know. And it's just cool that they allowed so much creativity within there. It's like, okay, well, I liked what you done right there, Joe. And it just made me feel good, Well,
that's one of the biggest selling points on independent filmmakers, is that for an actor, you have so much creative freedom. You can audition thoughts to them, and they're very openly to hear. I would never go to Antoine Fuqua and be like, hey, you know what? I think this would be a good idea. Right. But when you work on a production that you're just completely comfortable talking with, and like I said, that has a lot to do with attitude. They were very open to creative freedom from the actor. And that's one thing I loved about him. We were doing a scene, and there was a lot of dialogue, and I'm sitting at this table, and I'm like, if y'all have a problem if I'd be eating something, and the woman who was playing my wife, and she was great. She's like, I got some popcorn, chocolate covered popcorn. I'm like, yeah. So I was like, y'all have an issue with that? No. Just, if you feel that's what you need in the scene, they were very, resourceful, and supportive of what you wanted to do. And they brought in this bowl of popcorn, and I'm kind of just lobbing it in my mouth through my whole dialogue, and kind of crunching on it, and it was chocolate. So I was licking my fingers, and it just brought, I feel so much more to the scene. I remember them approaching me and was like, man, maybe in another scene, you should just be chomping on something else. That's your thing. So they allow you to bring that, and it fills a lot of the space in the scene. And makes it more organic and natural. And they were completely open to that idea, and they let me go with it, and I think that's really cool, because as an actor, we know they have a vision, and we know what they wrote, and you always want to be very careful how you step up to people's work and audition a thought to them, or suggest a thought to them, or an idea. And as an actor, we also know we have a job to do, and we also, if we feel like something's missing, that makes us maybe more comfortable in the scene, or that makes the scene more organic or more natural, then we just know this is something that'll help us out. And for them to be so supportive, that's one of the big wins when you work in independent film, is that you do have the opportunity to talk to the director or the producer or the writer and say, I was doing something recently, and I'm I don't think my character would say this like this. I forgot what it was, and I do that. Sometimes you do read that stuff like that with a writer, and I was I feel like he would say this, for instance, and I did this on a big show. I did this guest star role on Family Business New Orleans. Brandon T. Jackson's character was named Marquise, right? I played a neighbor, this Cajun neighbor of the casino, and we got beef, and he already pays me under the table for stuff. And, I go into the casino to confront him about something, and I'll show you how strict television is. And there's a lot of money every time that camera's rolling. Money's being spent. I made a bold decision that when I walked into that casino, I started coming after him screaming, that I would say Marquis instead of Marquise. Because I don't feel like my character would have been like, as a Cajun farmer next door pissed off, I would have been like, hey, Marquise. I'd have been Marquis. You know, like, cause I don't know any better. Like, you know, like, I don't know any better. It's two different cultures, right? Like my culture and his culture is two different cultures, and we pronounce things and say things differently. And after that take, the script supervisor, who I know, comes up and goes to the director, and everyone is like, Hick said Marquis, and it's Marquise. And the director says, why'd you say Marquis? I was like, well, because I don't feel like I'm not his people. Like, I don't feel like I'd call him Marquise. And he was like, you know what? I don't think you would either. He's like, yeah, let's keep calling him that. And I kept my composure, but on the inside, I was like, oh my God, thank God. This is like my first guest star role, like on a major television series. You know, I've had co-star roles, but this is a guest star role. That's a big difference. Like, dude, you are like major, to be like a major supporting role in a movie. And I was just like relieved. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Like, thank God, whoever. Like, thank you. Because it was a bold choice, but it's what I felt as an actor at the time. And you have to trust your instinct. Like, you have to trust your instinct. If something's not natural to you, that camera is going to catch it, and it'll catch it in a second. And it worked, you know? So, that's the only time I did that on a, you know, $1 million something type production. But in independent film, a lot, you know, you get to talk a lot to the director, and like Mitch and, all those guys that are on that set, and really discuss, you know, how you feeling about a scene as an actor, and, you know, suggest those thoughts.
So if I was on the fence right now and I wanted to get into acting, would you have any like words of encouragement for someone that's like on the fence about wanting to try acting out?
Yes, I do. So when it comes to acting, and I'm guessing it's just like a guy who's like a musician and plays music, like, I always think back to when I got sober, and they said, you have to want sobriety more than anything else in the world. That's how you're going to stay sober. You got to want it every day. It costs, it's rented, and that rent is due every day. And that's how I feel it is with acting. So number one, you have to be completely dedicated to it. Number two, you got to be able to handle rejection. Like, a lot of it. I may do hundreds of auditions a year, book 5.
Dang. And
you can't wonder why you didn't. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. It's not what they were looking for. You know, you start really thinking about, man, what I did in the audition that went wrong. When I audition, I walk away from it. I don't think about it again. After I send it, it's done. I can't, like, because now it's going to mess me up on what I'm doing next. So you have to have like some really thick skin, like really, really thick skin. And out of those things, go study to be an actor. Most people think that you can just act. I just want to be an actor. You have to study to be an actor. Number one, you need to learn the technical aspects of acting, and you need to learn how to act. You need to learn different techniques. And then, 2, having that under your belt. If you don't have that under your belt, no agent will touch you. They will not. If you don't have extensive acting training, I'm talking about a legitimate agent. If you don't have extensive acting training, audition technique training, improv, no agent will touch you. They don't want to waste their time, you know, because when you're making money, that's when they make money. If you're not making the money, they don't need you. That's the reality of the business, you know. Like, if I ain't making money, she ain't making money. The only time she makes money is when I make money. And never pay your agent unless, like, you did a job and she gets 10% of it, you know. I see a lot of these fake casting calls all over Facebook and Disney scouting, and none of that's real. Like, that's not how this industry works. you don't get into something unless you have an agent. And then you're not paying that agent a cent until you book something. There's going to be a breakdown from a production. It'll go from production to casting director. There'll be a breakdown from the casting director. Say we're looking for this one character, and she'll submit me with probably 1,000 other people all around. And then out of those 1,000 people, they're going to look at you first. If they like what they see, they'll start looking at your training. And they'll start looking at what you did. Then they'll start looking at your demo reel. Then they'll pick probably 40 people out of those 1,000 to audition. Then it's going to come down to 2. You'll get pinned. And they'll reach out to you. You got pinned for this role. Are you available? Don't mean you got it. Not till that contract comes, you get it. Sometimes I was pinned for Netflix's Hitman. It's like, man, I thought I had it. It was out of me and another guy, or maybe me and 2 other guys, but I never heard nothing back. You don't hear back. You only hear if you got it. So like that goes back into like the whole having thick skin and kind of just forgetting about it. You can't sit there like waiting on it, because they don't want you. They don't tell you. You just don't hear nothing. So that's the process of that. That's how crazy that process is. It's a very long process, or it could be a quick turnaround process, but like you literally auditioning. If you look, that's why if you ever see something, people say the audition is the win, because it is, because you just got picked out of hundreds or 1,000 people to be put in front of a casting director to do your job, to show your skills, like to do what you do. That's the win. After that, you just got to hope you get hard. You do your research, do your character breakdown, your script breakdown. You do everything you've ever learned to make that character real. And then also it's important with those characters is that you don't want to create a character. You want a part of you being that character. That's what makes you stand out. That's what makes you unique. Using your truth, your experience in that character's experience. That's how you make it relatable. When I do an audition, just to show you how technical auditions are, from eye line to whoever's in the room, I could tell you what time of the day it is. I could tell you what the temperature is. I can tell you what the room looks like. I can tell you if there's a dog in the corner. I could tell you my history, what I accomplished in high school. I could tell you if I went to college. I could tell you if I was ever married, what my relationships were like. I build a whole character with a history and a backstory. And every one of those, if that character is something relatable in my life to that character, then it's injected into that character. So when I get an audition, that's when the work starts. From every word, what did the writer mean by this? I'll take my name of the character and do a history search on the origin of that name, because that's how writers write. Everything a writer writes, there's a reason behind it. And it's for you to figure out that reason. And then it's for you to sell that character to the casting director. Then after it's sold to casting director, he's going to send it to production. And then you got to sell it to production. Then once production decides to pin you, and maybe 2 other people, you get a callback. Then you got to audition again. This time it's them changing stuff in your audition. And that's one of the big things about being an actor. If you want $1 million production and you get a note from a director and they want you to do this more boring or less boring, or they want you to do this a little bit more angry or a little bit more, they want you to hold back a tear, they want you to you better be able to do that on the spot. Because if not, you're getting sent home. So like that's the pressures that come with it. And that's how much work goes into a character. The writer writes it specifically how he sees this character, right? Because somebody believed in that writing enough to pour a bunch of money into it for it to be produced to a real character on screen. So like, you better be versatile. That's where your studying comes in, your improv, your different audition techniques, eye line exercises, you name it. It all comes together in this package into this character. And you need to know what you're doing. Because if you don't, you're wasting a lot of people's time. You're wasting a lot of people's money. You know, so I always keep that in mind too. Be professional. Work ethic is everything. Punctuality is everything. All of it. And it's just this, it's a whole nother world, you know, it's a whole nother world. And in the beginning, it's really rough, you know, because you're trying to absorb all this and understand all this psychologically. And then after you do it long enough, you realize, like, I'm just doing a job and I know what I got to do with this. I'm going to do it and then I'm going to send it off. And if I don't hear nothing back, that had nothing to do with me. I did my best, and you move on.
And earlier in the episode, you had brought up about, you know, makeup. When you're getting your makeup and hair and getting ready to go out, you know, when I think of that, I think of like a lady or a gentleman, like with a little pad, just like, is that like a real thing? Like, do you have to have certain type of makeup on for your roles outside of your natural complexion?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, because lighting in film is everything, and the way light bounces off your face is everything. You know, so that brings a lot of technicality to it when it comes to lighting and makeup. I'm covered in tattoos. I do a lot of period pieces. So I sit in makeup for really long periods of time.
To cover up your tattoos?
I've gotten, you know, Mayfair witches. I played a Scottish guy from the 1700s. They didn't have tattoos a lot back then, you know, so like all this was covered. I've sit through makeup chairs, and I mean, I got tattoos up my arm. All of that is covered. So I've sat through makeup chairs getting tattoos covered for hours and hours and hours and hours on end. I've sat through special effects makeup chairs. You know, I guess the tattoos would be the most time consuming one. So be careful out there. Anyone that's thinking about getting into acting, I highly suggest you don't get any neck tattoos. I don't hand tattoos, because sometimes if there's not budget to cover this, I ain't going to get the part. They're going to go with the next guy who don't have the tattoos. Tattoos is our big thing. Unless you're A-list celebrity like The Rock or something, you know, who they'll do whatever they need to do for him. But if you just, you know, an actor trying to get in the business or make it in the business or working in the industry, and you're not A-list, which a lot of people think you can make a living off of just acting. I do really well, but like I couldn't make a living off of it. There's only like 2 or 3% of people who can actually live full time on acting. And that's like Will Smith and these big A-list actors. I have a buddy right now who's in huge things, and he's a working actor, and he's, I don't want to drop his name. He's a good friend of mine. Huge lead actor as a child in a cult classic from the 90s. And he was just in, Francis Ford Coppola's, Megalopolis, or however you pronounce it. And I mean, he's brilliant. He does all kind of work, and, you know, even he has a side job. You know, a lot of my actor friends, some of them teach acting classes. Some of them, I know plenty that Uber. I know this brilliant actress, and she was in The Walking Dead and had a huge role in The Walking Dead. And right now the film industry's real slow, and she took a job at a construction company, like working, I don't know if it's sales or whatever she's doing. So like, always remember that too. Like, acting is the side hustle, you know, unless you're a mega star. You know, so that's something for everyone to remember also about acting.
So what is your take on AI then? Because I know like that's a big thing in Hollywood right now, is the AI takeover. How do you feel about AI in movies?
So I'll speak on it from an actor's point, and I won't get into any other aspect of it, because how it affects me as an actor. I do not believe in the recreation of a voice or image for an actor. Just because right now, except for 2 actors who just recently, which I was very surprised, and I'm sure they have these contracts locked down perfect because of who they are, Matthew McConaughey and Michael Caine have just signed some voice contracts for their voices to live on through AI. I'm not sure the content of the contracts. I'm not sure. I didn't research it. But they did sign contracts, not for their image, just for their voice. But I don't think there's enough. California has recently just passed a law about AI and actors' images. But I don't think there's enough information yet as far as contractual information with the union and with, the unions against AI and recreate images. I mean, it's like basically if we would have just let it happen, somebody could have took my image and my voice. I would have signed a contract and it could have been used forever. However, not knowing exactly what kind of reimbursement, because there's been instances where Scarlett Johansson, I think recently they used something from her and it was not okay. It was not, so there's just a lot of open, unfinished stuff. Personally, I don't think we should ever use AI to replicate any actor's image or voice. But as you know, the world we live in now is very technologically advanced, and it's not going away. So we're kind of just seeing where it's all going to go. I hope that if it's something that we can't stop and that it's going to be done, I hope that people are compensated as they should be in a proper manner.
Yeah. It's just me personally. You can tell the difference between CGI and AI, like influence movies. And it's like one of my biggest favorite movies is Lord of the Rings. And just going back and looking at all the props, all the scenery, all the little mini buildings that they built and scaled them, with the different cameras and stuff, you give a real sense of something that's not computer generated.
Right. And think about the jobs.
Yeah. You're losing hundreds of thousands of jobs.
You're losing hundreds of thousands of people that relied on this industry for years. They came into this industry, put everything into their craft or, their trade. I mean, you have carpenters, electricians, prop masters, locations. You have departments just for plants. You start AI in plants. You put a whole department out of business. So you have all these parts to this moving machine. And it's almost like if you would have taken, a fuel or gas diesel engine and replace it with an electric one. You're replacing all of that, right? You're replacing all of it, all those people, all those jobs, all those careers. Then you start thinking about, well, what kind of economic, effect that can have if you're removing all these jobs and it's going just to AI. Like what kind of economic impact will that cause, in general, so it's way early in the game right now to tell how far they'll go with this. It's not going away. And we just kind of sitting by and I think we have the proper people in the union. I'm hoping we do, that is going to protect everyone and the people outside the union that's going to protect everyone and just does the right thing with it,
We shall see. Hopefully everything goes well.
Yeah.
With the world we live in, this crazy, crazy place. So, oh man, we're almost an hour and 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
And we're rolling. Do you have anything up and coming you can talk about? Like maybe a movie coming out soon that you've been in, or a TV series, or something that you're about to be a part of?
I got a lot of it I can't really talk about, but I have some stuff coming up in 2026 that I'll be acting in. But I'll probably have about 5 or 6 films that are in post-production. They'll be coming out in 2026. So if you follow me at Hick Cheramie _actor on Instagram, or if you follow me as Hick Cheramie on Facebook, once I'm allowed to release some of that information, I will. You can also follow Action Talent Agency. There's announcements made on there usually, or any entertainment site when it's going to be revealed. It's going to be revealed. I also got some stuff connected with acting coming in. I'm pretty booked up until March 2026, but some announcements I'll be making of some cool opportunities that I've been lucky enough to get thrown my way because of my acting career. But I would just keep up with social medias. You know, I have some auditions out right now. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So it's always just a lot of stuff up in the air, but you'll definitely be seeing some films coming out in 2026 with me in them.
Nice. I knew it would probably be something like that because the secrecy, especially with now knowing about the film festivals, how films circulate through there before they even get regular viewers. But this has been a wonderful chat this afternoon.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me. Coming to big old Oakdale, taking your time to join the show and give the listeners some great insight. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this afternoon. Is it this afternoon? No, it's still morning time.
Almost noon.
Almost noon. But at the end of every show, we do words of wisdom, Mr. Hick. And would you have any words of wisdom for the listeners out there today?
Yeah, something my dad used to always tell me. Do what you need to do, then do what you want to do. And if you don't use your head, your ass is going to pay for it.
10-4. Yeah, I feel that.
No, seriously, it's like always be you, right? Always show up, you know, always suit up and show up and always give it, especially if you want to go in this industry. And I feel like anything you do in life, just be a good person, be professional, be punctual, and show up and do your job.
Yes, sir. My words of wisdom is to find a hobby out there, listeners. Get out of your 9 to 5, your 40 or like Mr. Hick, 50, 52 hours a week and do something that makes you happy. Find some passion. It don't have to be a podcast or music or, you know, maybe you like to chainsaw trees and make wood art, or you like to paint, you like to crochet, you know, you like to can food. Just find something that makes you happy outside of your work. Your work is to make money to provide for your family or for yourself, but find time to find something fun to do outside of that.
Yeah, that's great words. You know, like you can build your dream while supporting your family, helping build someone else's, you know, and I learned that. Because I go to work every day and I help build a dream for someone else. And I'm truly grateful to a wonderful family and the great people, and they've been friends for my life for a really long time, and they give me the opportunity to still build my own dream. And I took that opportunity and I ran with it. So that's some great advice.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you, man.
Hick.
Appreciate it.
Y'all listeners out there, make sure to go check him out on Facebook, Instagram, check out his movies, and make sure to like and subscribe to Third Coast Podcast, and make sure to like our YouTube channel. Oh, big shout out. We hit 1 million views on YouTube. So that's something that we never thought we would ever get to. I've never thought we'd be still recording. This is episode 276. Closing in on 300. We got something special for y'all. But Mr. Hicks, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled and honored, and congrats on the 1 million, 200 something plus episodes. I think that's a great accomplishment.
Just a small town podcast, small town, Oakdale, Louisiana.
Small town, big heart, dude.
Yep. But for Third Coast Podcast, I'm Joe. What it do, Gators? And we out.